try to be a good man, but life keeps beating me down. I never understood that you gotta learn to swim, you're gonna drown. People think I'm riding high, but I feel so low. I try to be a good man, but life keeps beating me down. Try to be a good man, but life keeps beating me down. I never understood that you gotta learn to swim, you're gonna drown. People think I'm riding high, but I feel so low.
It is raining so bad right now. I apologize, everyone. If you... Oh, I'm not... Microphone. I completely apologize. You're about to hear just completely new audio. The rain... We are not getting rained out today. I'll tell you that for free. How are you doing? It is week 1 of the college football season. Did you know that? Did you know that we have games to be played? Did you know that Boise State in South Florida is on my television screen right now? Right now, we are live. College football, the Stadium Pulse. You see the schedule below, you see the title, you see everything involved, you see what we're going to be talking about today. It's pretty straightforward. Usually I got a list of topics, but we're going to go through as many of these games as we possibly can when talking about the college football week 1 predictions. All I ask, if you do like college football, you have found the right channel. You found the right show that is going to be talking about college football all season long. And stick around because we are always going to be doing this throughout the off season. This is the Stadium Pulse, a college football show. I recommend go checking out my page as well. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Everything is linked down right here. So why don't we talk about the game that I, myself, will be at? Baylor, Auburn. Auburn taking a trip to Waco, Texas, probably for the only time in their lives they will be in Waco, Texas. I can't even classify as North Austin or Super South Dallas. If you live in the state of Texas, you understand that's an unfair thing to do for Waco, Texas, a true college town. We know Auburn is favored by 2.5 points. And I talked about this matchup on the Tuesday show. We previewed it. We said, what is going to be the X factor for the game? And now I have to make a prediction. I have to actually answer that question, lay it all on the line, and make a prediction on how I think this game's going to go. And I still don't know. But I have to say something, of course, because I will be at this game. If you like vlogs, go check it out. I'm going to post it here. Hopefully I can get it out by Monday because we're going to have so many games going on, so much content coming out. I got to be able to find time to do a vlog for my trip down to Waco. But the questions that I have that's going to dictate my prediction for this game: continuity versus talent. How is the continuity for Baylor going to rival about the talent that Auburn's going to present? Because Auburn's going to out-talent them. They have a top 15 defense. They have Cam Coleman. They have Jackson Arnold, former 5-star. People tend to forget that. Elite 11 MVP. They have the talent that is going to outclass Baylor. But Baylor has home field advantage. Baylor has continuity at the quarterback and the running back and the head coaching positions and a bunch of other areas across this program. How is that continuity going to translate on the field when you are starting out with a quarterback on the other side of the field that is transferring in, reportedly not doing the best in fall camp, still getting acclimated? Maybe it's because Auburn's defense is just that good. How is that going to look? My next question I talked about on the Tuesday show: how is Cam Coleman going to look against that Baylor defensive back room? A Baylor defensive back room that struggled last year. I think it's fair to say, Who is going to stop Cam Coleman? If you don't know his name, you don't know the talent that I'm talking about. We're talking about a 6'5" receiver, 4.4 speed, ridiculously talented. Mind you, he's not even the best wide receiver on his depth chart. I believe he's the wide receiver 2 to Eric Singleton, who's the Georgia Tech transfer. He's going to deal with all the intermediate stuff. He's incredibly talented. How's that matchup going to look? And how is Jackson Arnold going to look after the first scripted drive? As many people know that follow college football or football in general, those first drives, especially to start the season, you know those first 10 plays. We're going to go from a pass to a run to a pass. We know exactly what we want to run. What is he going to look like when the first bad thing happens? J.D. Pickell put it in the best way possible. What's it going to look like when he gets a punch in the face, that first pick, that first potential turnover, that first fumble? How is Jackson Arnold going to bounce back? Because we saw him crumble time and time again when he was playing for Oklahoma. Apologies. We have so much news going on. Micah Parsons got traded, and it's a rainy day in Dallas. It is so fitting that it is raining here in Dallas as they traded Micah Parsons. But like I said, this is just a college football show, so I'm not going to talk about the Micah Parsons trade. To finish up my prediction with Auburn and answer those questions I just detailed, I'm going with Baylor to win it. And apologies, I said Baylor pretty aggressively. I'm going with Baylor to win for a couple of reasons. I think if it is a rock fight, I'm taking Dave Aranda to win that rock fight at home. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be sloppy. I think it's going to be a first to 24 points per game. Baylor's defense, you give Dave Aranda the whole offseason to know that he has to face against Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton, and this offense is going to be very potent through the air. You give him a whole offseason. If this was in the middle of the year and they have already gotten a little beat up, it'd be different in my opinion. But it wouldn't shock me if Auburn was to win this game, truthfully. But I got excited enough. I'm obviously going to be there, so I'm stoked to see this because there's so much pressure. And what is Auburn going to look like if they lose this game? They could end up being 2-4, and Hugh Freeze is not the head coach. That is how quickly it could crumble as they play, I think, at Texas A&M. They play Georgia early in the season. Like, there's a lot of games that they could easily lose and fall to 2-4 to start their season. Now, we could get to the meat and potatoes. Truthfully, I want to get to the meat and potatoes when we're talking about Ohio State, Texas. But you got to eat your vegetables first, kiddos. And we got to talk about Alabama traveling to Tallahassee, facing off against Florida State. They're favored by 13.5 points. I said it on the Tuesday show. What is Florida State's path to victory? What do they have to do to pull off this major upset? A team that I have as a potential SEC title contender, and even to take it a step further, a national title contender, a team that I see could win the whole thing. What is the path for Florida State? Well, it's the same script. You pick up the same thing that Vanderbilt did, and you just execute it to another degree because your talent level compared to Vanderbilt is a step above. They have to be able to run the option offense at a very high level, and Gus Malzahn and Tommy Castellanos are going to be able to do that. The difference is Alabama did get punched in the mouth by Vanderbilt. They did lose that game against Oklahoma. They've had an entire offseason to circle those moments that happened last year and say, that is why we don't do the training and practice like we did last year. We kick it up a notch. We do another level of attention to detail. That is what's going to make or break our season. And just look at what happened last year as a reason to go and watch that extra set of film, to work a little bit harder, push yourself a little bit more in practice. And that's what Kalen DeBoer is going to ask out of this Alabama team, because they out-talent Florida State, and everyone wants to point to Ty Simpson. I think he's in one of the best situations in all of college football. So it's hard for me to say that he's going to outright fail in this position, even on the road. Florida State's going to be a loaded crowd wanting to see at least some sort of good version of Florida State football. I think another question that I have is, can Alabama run the football without Jan Miller? They had Jalen Milroe, obviously Justice Haynes, Jan Miller last year, but they weren't that effective at running the football consistently. What does it look like with Ty Simpson? No Jan Miller. Are they going to be a team that just torches Florida State for 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns? Horton, Williams, Hale, others just absolutely fry that secondary. I'm curious if I'll get any kind of answers in terms of the rushing attack. I have Alabama winning and covering. It's such a difference in program projections and where they currently stand. I think Alabama has something to prove. I think they want to show that there is a gap, that they don't play to the competition that they face because of what happened with Michigan, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma. Because those things happened, they want to prove themselves in this matchup, paired with the fact that Tommy Castellanos was talking and just giving them free bulletin board material as if they didn't already have enough. Okay. Did you know number 1 and number 2 are facing off in week 1? Did you know Texas and Ohio State? Arch Manning is playing in this game. Did you know that? You probably did. Let's talk about the meat and potatoes of week 1. The big matchup. The college game day. Lee Corso's final college pick. I can't talk about it. I'm not mentally prepared for what my childhood is going to basically end on Saturday. Lee Corso is a core part of my fandom of college football. The reason why I'm sitting in front of this camera today, the entertainment factor. I have so much respect for Lee. I'm not getting into it. That's going to be for the Sunday show when I can't talk about Lee Corso. Texas, Ohio State in the shoe, game day, week 1. Almost kind of feels like we don't need this to be a game 1 matchup. It feels too much for week 1. It feels too big. But then again, I'm not going to say no to it. Ohio State's favored by about 2.5 points. It's probably going to land at about 1.5. Dave Portnoy, not allowed in that stadium. Who really cares? This is going to be one of the best games of the entire season. We get to start it out week 1. Obviously, the excitement level, the hype is at the peak right now as we enter to the Friday, the day before. Big noon kickoff. I have my own thoughts on that. Just talk about the game, Tegan. We'll talk about it. Who can run the football? That's the question I have for Texas Ohio State. Who is going to be able to not gash for 6 yards a carry? Who is going to be able to get those 4 yards, 5 yards to make their young quarterback's life just an ounce easier, just a little bit easier to convert those 3rd and 4s and short continuously? I think it's going to be Texas. I think Texas is more equipped to run the ball consistently. I think we're going to get a classic Texas game here. I think Texas is going to be able to get to a lead early. And unlike previous big-time matchups, because they were able to do that all last year, basically be like a snake just suffocating their opponent and get to these leads and just be at arm's distance from your opponent, play such good defense that you really couldn't score. That 7 points feel like 10 points. 10 points feel like 21-point leads. That's the type of game that Texas likes to play. And I think they might be able to do it against Ohio State on the road. Who's going to make the key plays in this matchup is a huge question of mine. Who is going to not gash the opponent for 150 yards rushing or Jeremiah Smith going for 120 yards, 2 touchdowns? That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, is Jeremiah Smith going to convert a 3rd and 7 in a critical moment in the game, and you go look back and say that's the reason why Ohio State won that football game? Or is it going to be Arch Manning scrambling and getting a 3rd and 4 on their side of the field to push them into field goal range to win that football game? That's the moment. Those are the things that I'm going to be expecting the difference between these two football programs on this given Saturday. I don't think it's crazy to expect this matchup to happen a 3rd time later in the season. We're talking playoffs here. It wouldn't shock me. And I think Arch Manning and this Texas team is one of my more confident bets that they win this football game. I'm weirdly confident about it. I have immense respect for Ryan Day. I thought he was getting overhated. I mean, I did my fair share of hating when he lost to Michigan for the 50th time. I have a lot of respect for the talent within this program. But I also respect the machine that Steve Sarkisian has gone, and the fact that I am so confident that he's going to have this team ready. People want to point to the fact that they lost to Georgia back-to-back. Rightfully so. But it's Georgia. And I've seen multiple instances where Texas has risen to the occasion on the road as well. I think of when they had to travel to Alabama, they won that football game. They traveled to Michigan, they won that football game. That same Michigan team that beat Ohio State, sure, they didn't know what the forward pass was, but I've seen them rise to the occasion when the pressure just continues to get cranked up. They lost at home to Georgia. They lost in a neutral site. They lost another neutral site to Ohio State, in which I think Quinn Ewers, sure, was a game manager, and you can say, oh, why was Arch Manning on the bench? There's so much nuance and context you are completely leaving out. Arch Manning came to Texas to develop, and we get to see if he fully developed. I think a winning stat line for him is going to be like 220 passing yards, 39 rushing yards, and a passing touchdown, and Wisner or Baxter score. I'm expecting like 24-17 Texas to win this football game. I'm weirdly confident Texas comes out on top against Ohio State. Now, the game that I'm more excited about, and also I just want to apologize before we get to the next game. If you are hearing the rain, I do apologize. There's nothing I can do about like a monsoon going. Like it's like the skies of Dallas are crying that Micah Parsons got traded. Truthfully, if you hear thunder, I apologize. But I will say this: if you're at this point of the show or you're rewatching it, you're not watching it live, I recommend go check out the channel. Go check out the other channels by Kretschmann Media. This is all powered by Kretschmann Media, the CEO Sports Show. You're going to hear plenty of Micah Parsons talk. If you like football, I'm sure you're going to hear some interest on a crash out of the 10th degree about Micah Parsons. And then the mic drop. You're probably going to see some crash out about Micah Parsons on there as well. This is a college football safe space. If you want to go see that, I promise you that content's going to be out very quickly. The game of the week to me, the one that I have fixated on the most is Clemson LSU. Who is the real Death Valley? Who can claim that title once and for all? Which we all know it's never going to be fully claimed by the end of this game. But who's going to have the bragging rights until the next matchup of who is the real Death Valley? LSU's rushing attack. What do we know about Caden Durham? What do we know about this offensive line with LSU? Are they going to be able to push the ball running it? That's probably a terribly formed sentence. Can they get pushed with that offensive line? Reportedly going to be running 5 to 7 offensive linemen against TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Will Helt, Sammy Brown coming off the blitz. Don't love that. Because we're talking about a Clemson program that was in the 80s in terms of rushing. Can LSU test it? Can LSU be the one that pushes that test to the forefront of the conversation? Because LSU does not have the mentality of running the football. They didn't last year. And their offensive coordinator said multiple times this offseason, we need to commit to the run because it's going to make Garrett Nussmeier's life just that much more easy. What do we know about LSU's offensive line? Because it's not just the rush. Can they maul in the running game and then we could trust them once we drop back to pass? We don't know about LSU's rushing attack overall. We really don't. Or offensive line overall. It's a big concern I have. And then what do we know about LSU's defensive backs? Let's flip the side. Are Clemson going to be, or is Clemson going to be able to pick on Harold Perkins in the star position? If you don't know what the star position is, it's a hybrid linebacker / safety. He's going to be in coverage more, something that he struggled with in space. But the reason why they're putting him there is because when he was able to roam a little bit more and rush the passer as an undersized edge rusher, that's where you got the best production out of Harold Perkins, coming off of, I believe, a torn ACL against UCLA last year, if I'm remembering correctly. But if he's a better coverage player than he was a year ago, maybe he's more of a weapon. But when you have Bryant Westco, Antonio Williams, that is real weapon. Those are real weapons. And I understand there's been this notion on Twitter that Clemson can't produce explosive plays. If you don't know explosives, over 20 yards is an explosive play. And Clemson was one of the best teams at creating explosives, but it wasn't good against the SEC. Can they do that now with another year of Garrett Riley, another year of Cade Klubnik, Westco, Williams? There's so many weapons on this Clemson team. This Clemson team, I think, is extremely top-heavy in the best way possible. Obviously, They're not going to be able to replenish talent the same level as like Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, because they don't pull in talent at that level anymore. But their starters, when healthy, are incredibly good. I think it's one of the best, if not the best defensive line in the country, one of the best wide receiver rooms, one of the best quarterbacks, and you have a third-year offensive coordinator, a guy in Garrett Riley that made a national championship run with Quinn Johnston. I'm not going to disrespect TCU here. I'm just going to say Garrett Riley is a national championship level offensive coordinator going into his third year with a third-year quarterback. You love to see it. And can LSU get over the mental side of it? They've lost 5 straight. 5 straight openers LSU has lost. If you try to tell me that the mental side of it doesn't matter, you are lying to yourself. You are lying to me. You're lying to your mother. You're lying to your grandmother. You're lying to your dad and your grandfather. The mental part is there. LSU has been so fixated on Clemson and just Clemson that it's like a pressure cooker about to explode. Because what happens when it doesn't go right? When that first drive ends up being a 3-and-out and Clemson drives down the field, you're down 7, you go 3-and-out again, they get a field goal. Now you're looking at 10-0 going into the second quarter. That could very well happen. And because you're so pressurized in wanting to beat Clemson and get over the hump of these season openers that you have not been able to do in over half a decade, what is the makeup of the team then? Or what if you burn yourself out? I think of Alabama against Georgia last year. They won that football game because they went on just such a crazy lead, but I think they burnt themselves out emotionally. That led the door open for Georgia to get back into it because they were so emotionally driven in that first half. What if Clemson slowly claws back and they don't get to as big of a lead as we saw with Alabama? I have Clemson winning this game and covering. They are 4-point favorites. I just see too many holes with LSU right now that not only are they problems, but they're problems that Clemson could exploit in a very productive manner. I think the explosives and I think the offensive line are going to be the kryptonite for LSU. I think LSU is going to be able to hold in. I think the first half, LSU is going to look great, but like we've seen time and time again with these openers, they start off great. They look like they are a team that is fully improved and it teeters towards the end. And I think a Clemson team that an environment is only going to need like a 20-yard completion to Bryant Wesco to get back into the game. Night opportunity as well. I'm just going to have Clemson win this game outright and cover the spread. I think they could do that. The last big game that we're going to talk about before we talk about some sneaky games, give some quick predictions. We got about 7 minutes left on the show. Like I said, if you love college football, I promise you this is the right place to be. This channel is only going to get better. It's going to grow. I promise you that. Because the person that is going to be driving, the person talking into this microphone is so invested that I don't care how long it takes, it's going to work. We could be in 2030. It's going to work sooner or later. Notre Dame is not being Miami at night. Oh, well, we're going to pause. We're going to restart that. I'm making my editor's life just a little bit easier. Did you know Notre Dame is not being Miami since 1977 in Miami? That's the little caveat, the little asterisk there. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a mental hurdle like we see with LSU not winning season openers, but there's enough there where you could say, is there something with Notre Dame walking into Coral Gables and not being able to win football games? And I worry, Notre Dame being 2-point favorites, that the wrong team is favored here. CJ Carr's got to show me. He's got to show everybody. CJ Carr has to be some sort of threat with his arm, or they're not going to be able to move the football. Because Miami's front seven is extremely talented. I expect it to just be an immovable object versus an unstoppable force, kind of Jeremiah Love versus that front seven. And Jadarian Price. And sure, they're going to be able to get those 4-yard, 3-yard chunks, but I don't think it's going to be the basis of your offense. Because if you are able to push the ball through the air, that lightens the box, and I think it makes the running back's life just so much easier. And it sounds like Miami's secondary which was the biggest weakness with that team last year, might be a strength. It might be the best part of this defense somehow. They have a new defense coordinator, a revamped secondary. They have to get tested. CJ Carr has to somehow test them. And their wide receiver room at Notre Dame with Greathouse and others is extremely talented. It's not like it's going to be a situation where they don't have the guys to test them. It's CJ Carr. Can he be a threat to get the respect of the defense? Because if he can be a threat, Notre Dame's winning this game comfortably. But I don't know if he can. I get a little worried they kicked Steve Angeli out. Understandably so. It sounds like CJ's going to easily win this job. Get to the summer, get to the fall camp. And all of a sudden, you're looking around and you're saying, why is it taking so long for CJ Carr to get the damn job, to announce it? Maybe it's just, I guess, I don't even know. I try to think like maybe it's some chess move by the head coach, but I don't think it is. I just don't think he took the job. I don't think they feel 110% confident, and maybe they wanted to resort to the more mobile quarterback to kind of live in that Riley Leonard world. What is Carson Beck going to look like with these new wide receivers? Because I can't just talk about one offense going against one defense. We have to flip it. Carson Beck, because he's a veteran quarterback, I trust him to get the offense going. I think both of these teams are going to look extremely sloppy. I think Ruben Bain's going to bounce back, but I expect Carson Beck to keep the offense on time. It sounds like this Shannon Dawson, Carson Beck pairing is going to work. It's going to have to show me. And sneakily, people have not talked about the amount of leadership and seniority leaving this Notre Dame defense. Obviously, Leonard Moore is there, but they are losing another corner. They lost some defensive linemen. It's a defense that's rebuilding, and we have the expectation that they've rebuilt it with really good talent because Notre Dame's bringing in talent at a level that Brian Kelly was never doing. This game's going to be really fun. I believe it's a Sunday night matchup. The other Sunday night matchup is going to be Virginia Tech, South Carolina. I sneaky have Virginia Tech. This is not to just get you to click on the video. This is not me trying to rage bait you. I promise you. Why are they 7.5 point favorites? I'm talking about South Carolina. A Virginia Tech program that went sub 500 going against one of the hottest teams in the country, one of the most talked about preview magazine darlings in South Carolina, Lenora Sellers. They were just featured on Netflix, one of the top teams. Shane Beamer, Beamer Ball, the hype is real. Why are they only 7.5 point favorites? That's my question. Oh, so you're facing off against Kyron Jones, a quarterback who I think has the talent any given Saturday to ruin your night. Brent Pry, a head coach that is on the last leg of his time with Virginia Tech. Maybe he jumpstarts his career with a win against the number 13 team in the nation. If we come back and I'm right, you have to sub, you have to like, you have to do something. And if I get it wrong, this never happened. TCU at UNC, Gio Lopez officially named the starting quarterback, but you don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about the fact that Bill Belichick, first game against Josh Hoover, that matchup right there. Can we have the trust that Bill Belichick's defenses and the complexity of that can translate to the college level against Josh Hoover, a veteran quarterback that can put up a ton of statistics? I don't have a pick on that one. That one, I lean TCU, but TCU's been in these spots where they've faced off a first-year head coach that people expected them to win. Obviously, they're coming off a national championship run, so it's different than when they faced off Colorado. I was at that game, by the way. I still have the roster from that one. I lean TCU, but I feel terrible about it. And that, oh, wait. In the 11th hour, we'll go overtime because this game's not being talked about enough. Utah at UCLA. The fact that this game's not being talked about enough, Nico Iamaleava versus that Utah defense, a Utah team that I'm expecting to bounce back, and they're only favored by 5.5 points. I'm very interested. This is going to be the recreation of Pac-12 After Dark, honestly, because this is two programs that were in the Pac-12. I don't even want to get into that right now. What is Devin Tampier and his OC going to look like against a UCLA defense? Nico Iamaleava going against a very good and stout defense and that offensive line. I expect Utah to win. I mean, I have Utah in my Big 12 championship winning it, so I expect them to win this game, but this is a great test. I think a sneaky game that we could be looking at the third quarter and saying, Nico looking real good in that first offense, and it slowly falls away because everyone's saying that they're going to win like 5 games this year. But what if Nico in a fresh, non-gimmicky offense with the wide splits? I'm very excited for that game. But with that in mind, stay tuned for the Sunday show where we're gonna recap everything. We're gonna talk about the college football slate. I'm very excited. I appreciate we're having great metrics on the show. You guys don't care about that, but I promise you, I'm so meticulous about that stuff and seeing what matters. And any comment that you guys put, I promise you, I'm gonna reach out and talk with you because I always want to talk about college football here. That's all that matters to me. And so with that in mind, thank you guys so much for watching the Stadium Pulse, powered by Kretschmann Media. My name is Tegan. I'm your host, and I'll always be your host for the most. And I'll see you guys next time.